Very good. Well, we're very fortunate today to have Sandie Davis with us. She's going to talk about her new service that she's providing to people here in Panama, to expatriates specifically, which I think could be a very useful one. Sandie, tell me a little bit about where you came from, who you are, and how you happened to come to Panama.
Okay. You know, I am a pretty goal-oriented person. So at a point in my life, about 10 years ago, I was kind of ready to change things up. I had quit a job and some big things had happened in my life, and I made a commitment to myself to take a couple of years off to have some fun and do some new learning. And so Panama came to me as part of that journey. Ultimately, my goals, the goals that evolved were that I wanted to travel, I wanted to learn Spanish, and I had a little chunk of money, and I thought it would be prudent to find a place in the world to make an investment outside of the United States. So I took a course on personal investing in real estate, and that's where Panama sort of showed up for me. And I did research online for about a month, and I booked a trip. I was convinced at that point. So that was back in about 2006. I booked a 3-week trip, came with a girlfriend who spent the first 2 weeks with me. We looked around. I really liked the market. I loved how it felt. I loved the excitement and the sense of opportunity that I felt. And I had a really direct goal. I had a really specific goal for Panama and for a potential investment here that I researched. And that was, it seemed to me like Panama was doing a really great job of attracting the corporate entities. They had attractive incentives to bring corporations here. And so my idea was to find a corporate rental, to buy a corporate apartment rental apartment. And I met with a local real estate location company, and they, in fact, were desperate to put for apartments for their clients. So I knew the opportunity was to find an apartment that was already ready, and I was able to do that. And at the end of my 3 weeks, I put money down on an apartment in Costa del Este, and received it within 3 months. And set it up, and it became a really nice little business for me for 6 years.
No,
yeah.
So that got the ball rolling, so to speak.
It definitely got the ball rolling. It definitely got the ball rolling, yeah.
Well, was there one thing that impressed you the most, or that struck your attention the most about Panama when you came?
Yes, very definitely. I mean, there's so many compelling things about Panama, right? But the one thing that I've always said and always thought and have truly come to believe is Panama is the land of opportunity. And, you know, here's a phrase that I really love to use about Panama. It's a third world country with $1 million facelift, right? Which means basically that it has come so far and is such a wonderful city and country that's so varied and offers so many things to do, but there's opportunity because it's a growing market, and there's so many ways to grow and mature, and which creates that opportunity. And really my life has reflected that. For me, you know, I've had a 6-year corporate rental business that was quite successful for me. I was getting 80% returns. It pretty much afforded me my travels to come back to Panama and sort of visit my business and start meeting really great people. I first returned to Panama because I was invited and decided to come full-time because I was invited by a local real estate company to help them open up the English-speaking markets in their office. It was a Spanish-speaking office, which was going to be quite a challenge for me as I was just learning Spanish. And in addition, I've worked with one of the biggest local developers in the market, and now I'm launching my own business. and really finding my way in Panama.
What are some of the lessons you've learned along the way?
Oh, lessons. Well, there's lots of them, and I got a couple. I've got a couple I'd like to talk about today. And the first is making learning Spanish a priority. I didn't come to Panama knowing Spanish. I'm still not fluent in Spanish, but I have to say, the more Spanish I know, the richer my experience in Panama is. So making Spanish a priority is a key lesson that I share with people who ask me that question, right? Mm-hmm. Right. Additionally, doing due diligence.
What do you mean by due diligence?
Yeah, right. So Panama's a different culture, you know. I mean, if you haven't lived here and you're coming into Panama, it's a new culture, and you know, I guess the due diligence is really talking to people and really figuring out what's different here and how things work, and it's what helps to keep. It helped me. By doing that, I was saved so many mistakes, right? I was going to go this way, talked, researched, hired some people, you know, sort of brought in a team and went this way and really found some success and mitigated a lot of issues that I might otherwise have had to struggle through and learn in a much harder way, you know, than I did, for sure. The other really important lesson that I learned was to relook at my life plan, right? So I never thought I was going to move to Panama. I never thought I would work here either. So when I made that choice, it became really important for me to relook at where I was headed, what was going on in my life plan, and sort of how to remap that to the opportunities and the lifestyle choices that were, you know, slightly different, you know, that I was making here. It's helped me really make connections in a new way and present myself a little bit differently than I might have in my hometown of Seattle or, you know, anywhere else I traveled and lived in my life. And it's really enabled me to bring a community together that supports me here and really helps me to thrive.
Well, those are some of the lessons. What are some of the pitfalls you run into?
Pitfalls. Well, I have a list of those. But I'll start with a really important one because this is something that has been a really big issue for me, and that is health and wellness. So how is that a pitfall? Well, it's easy. It's so easy for us when we're healthy to take our health for granted. And what I found is it's really unwise to plan a relocation and not also think about that and look at that very seriously. There are insurance issues. Healthcare is so affordable here, and that was so appealing to me. And I thought, super cool, that's going to be easy, and I can just walk into the market. But I have type 1 diabetes, so I wear an insulin pump. I need supplies for my pump, and you know, and have a system of healthcare that I have in place through an insurance company in the United States that, in fact, does have international coverage for me. But it was the questions, well, can I get health care in Panama? And the answer is health care is available, insurance is available, health care is affordable. It was an amazing landscape to sort of walk through and figure out and research. But ultimately what I did learn, rather than assume that I would get insurance here, what I learned is because of my type 1 diabetes, I will not be covered in Panama for that condition. So I was so grateful that I hadn't ended my insurance plan in the United States because I maintain that today and still get regular, and that's for major medical and for supplies for my chronic condition. But everything else I can get taken care of here. My dental appointments are $30, for a few x-rays and a full teeth cleaning, and it's quite marvelous. But very important. There are such, and there are so many ways to approach that. One of the ways that I've really helped to mitigate risk for myself is to take advantage of the private ambulance services. So for less than $100 a year, I am signed up. A number can be called and an ambulance will come to me no matter where I am in the country and get me and deliver me to a hospital of choice. And that really has put a lot of concerns, to bed for me, for sure, for sure. So what else is on my list? Let's talk about vulnerability, because let's face it, when you come to a new market, you don't know how things work. There's so much about the culture that you learn on the streets or inside, inside where, wherever you are in community. And it does leave us in a vulnerable position. So really what I want to say about that is it's so important to find ways to be safe and be accounted for. And I have some tips and tricks I can share about that with the clients that I'm working with to keep people in a safe place and accounted for.
Well, maybe this is a good time for you to explain a bit about the services you want to provide, that you are providing now. You have a new business here.
I do have a new business here, and very excited about it. My business really is based on the lessons and the pitfalls and, and some of the successes that I've had. And, here success can be little itty bitty things, but quality of life has really been what I've been impassioned about, and really helping people to find their way in Panama. I've been coming to Panama for 8 years, and slowly but surely, I've learned how to put a team together and where those important pieces are, and that it's important to explore the market. So I really have 3 levels of engagement in my new business. I looked for, once again, an opportunity and a void. Where could I fill a void in the business community and in the service community? Because I really, part of it for me, an important part of it for me is really working with people and helping move people forward in a healthy, holistic continuum of life. And so in the three components of my business, my new business, is to help people explore if Panama is right for them. And if the answer is yes, as part of that, help them to identify 2 to 4 different markets and neighborhoods across the country that they should be looking at and considering as part of their relocation. And I do that with a lifestyle survey that I've created and ask my clients to complete for me, because it gives me insight on who they are and what they're passionate about, and their have-to-haves and their want-to-haves, and it really helps me to put a roadmap, a really personalized roadmap together for my clients to help them navigate Panama and answer that all-important question about whether Panama is the right place for them or not. And so if the answer is yes, the second part of my company I call Establish. And at that stage, that's where we start looking at property tours and the more specifics about where to live, and the relocation logistics and the move-in management and even relocation mentoring in terms of where the community is going to be and how that looks, and then we move into sort of the life planning piece of it, which I call Engage, because that's This is the piece that I'm most excited about because I think it's the most unique part of my business and will be most fun because it's all about creating community. The line that I use, the tagline that I use in my business is find your tribe to thrive, because it's so important. No matter where we are in the world and no matter where we are in our life, having a community that for me, that supports me and is available to answer questions, for guidance on the good days and bad days, is an amazing, amazing asset. And creating that here in Panama, there's so many pieces and there's so many people contributing in so many different ways, but the dots aren't connected here. And so I'm so interested and I'm working with experts and recruiting some really interesting specialists to help me put some programs and event-related, social-related events and immersions in Panama that really help people get connected, find a purpose, and just really a sense of purpose and a way to thrive here through the connectivity and in community.
Well, one of the things that I often mention to members of Retirement Wave, where I work with people who are coming to Panama and other areas, is that when you come to a country, I don't care whether it's Panama or another country, you look for where you need to live before you look for where you want to live, so to speak. In other words, people have certain things they need. And it can be anything from a network of people who they relate to from their culture, or maybe just a really good hardware store because somebody likes to fix up homes, or one thing or another, to find what they need, and maybe cost of living, whatever, and then within that area, choose where they want to live. But one of the biggest problems I've noticed in years gone by is that you can go to some spectacularly beautiful places in Panama and think, I want to live here for the rest of my life. You know, it's like my little piece of paradise. But the truth is, it's a piece of Panama. It's a part of the world, and it may not have everything you're going to need in another 3 to 6 months. I remind people this, even if you live in the most beautiful coastline in the world, the day comes when you walk out the door and you don't even see it because you're too busy trying to do things. So I always try to stress, find what you need first, and then within that, find what you want. And I think that's exactly what I'm doing. So I'm one of the tools was I have a rich toolbox to share with my clients is really just creating a checklist, because what I've seen happen is people are wandering around the country. They're thinking about relocation, or they're pretty sure they're going to do that. They hook up with someone, usually a broker, who knows their work, and knows how to sell. And without that checklist, man, it's very easy to get carried away. So there have been several times that I've met people who have become clients who have purchased a property on a first trip without doing that due diligence, back to that due diligence piece, and they're ready to sell it because it's not what they need. It's gorgeous, it's all of those things that you said, but it is not. It's not at least fulfilling some basic requirements of their lives that they sort of let go of, in the excitement of discovery. Yeah. It is. It's always exciting to visit a place, and a new place, and especially if it's in the middle of winter, as it is for some people right now, while we're talking, and coming down into warmth automatically makes everything look that much better.
Oh yeah, and Panama is amazing. I mean, really, come on, think about it. We get the city, and I'm a city girl, so I really did that lifestyle because I love the beach, and I want to walk on the beach every day. But I thrive in the city, and and that became very clear to me, and I am very happy with that choice that I'm in the city because I can get to the beach and I can walk on the beach. But there's so much here. So the city, is the place I like to be, but we've got the highlands, and the stretch of beaches on the Pacific and the development that's going on the Caribbean side now. We've got Volcan Baru, we've got the El Valle, which is the volcanic, you know, such a spiritual area. It's amazing, the variety in such a small little isthmus of a country that's available here. And that's part of what I love about it, because within 6 hours, you can pretty much be in a whole different world, from one end of the country to the next.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you can drive there during daylight of one day.
Yeah, right, within a day. And
I often tell people it's very hard to get further than an hour away from the beach or from the mountains. So if you don't happen to live on the beach, don't worry about it. You're going to be able to get down to it.
You can get there for
quite
sure.
quickly, quite easily.
Yeah.
Well, I think that what you're doing is a good idea, and a lot of folks could use that. And as you said right from the beginning, it's a question: is Panama right for them?
Yes.
And that's one of the most. What I like about you in many parts is the honest thing is that sometimes it's not the right country for some people, and helping people discover that without any sense of shame. There's no shame needs to be involved. Where the majority might find it very acceptable, there'll be those who don't, and they have their own country somewhere else, and they're in the search for it. It's very challenging for people, and I think you've learned that very well over the last few years, to suddenly appear somewhere, get out of a plane, and though Panama's very friendly, you know, anything to worry about in that regard, it's what do I do next? Mm-hmm. And that's, I think, what you're talking about. Many points, you're there to help them do what they need to do next.
Yes, and in a very sort of a structured and convenient way. So kind of, you know, I joke a lot about my little black book, sharing my little black book, you know, but that's really what I want to do, and help folks connect the dots, do it conveniently, sort of a one-stop shop. I use the phrase, your shortcut to Panama, to just help people really get inspired and have fun, but make smart choices as well for themselves. Making assumptions here is another, you know, is sort of another, I don't know, is that a pitfall or a lesson? Just don't do it. You know, my thing is don't do it. Being open to letting reality unfold and having quite a bit of patience around that can be so delightful and surprising here. So, having found my way to that, it's like, you know what, I'm not going to assume I know anything about what's going on or anything about that person, and just let them or a situation unfold has been absolutely delightful to me. And it's been a great experience that way.
Well, one thing I've appreciated about your approach too is that you're not representing a sales office of some real estate developer or whatever here. I mean, you've been that route, you know these people,
yes,
but you're not representing them, you're not being paid by them, your client is the person that hires you.
Exactly.
And to have both, to understand these folks and how they operate and have an appreciation of what they need and are interested in, but at the same time, not taking their money, but looking at your client and saying what's best for you may take you in a completely different direction. That's the only way to get this job done properly, and that's the way you do it.
Yeah,
so
yeah. Well, it's a huge challenge in real estate because we don't have the MLS here. So, you know, so it's difficult to know what's available, and more than that, you know, it's getting to what is really going to work, where somebody is going to thrive, and then how to get there. And so you're right, I've been in the business, I know a lot of the brokerage companies in the market, and I work with them, and I do have a relationship with them. And so I help my clients create sort of a broker strategy, and because I know that this broker is really effective in the city with some higher end air, or in this particular area, and for the beach areas, you know, this is a selection of brokers that do good work, and I know to be honest, and I really kind of help my clients navigate that, what can be a pretty thick maze.
Yeah,
pretty thick maze.
Definitely.
Yeah.
No doubt. Well, all is said and done, are you happy with what you're doing? Are you happy you're here? What's your idea of the future for yourself and for Panama? Are you looking forward to it? You know, a lot
I'm
of countries
thrilled.
they are.
Yeah, I'm thrilled. You know, I've been visiting Panama for 8 years, and in the last 3 of those 8 years, I have lived here full time. So I do feel like I'm settling. You know, I've made a choice. You know, that Panama is really my first home, not my second home right now, and. Again, you know, the opportunity is amazing. I'm excited about what I'm doing because I do think I found a niche that is of service and highly, you know, is highly valued by a client group interested in coming to Panama and getting a little bit of support and structure to navigate their journey here. And so yeah, I'm super excited. I have an incredible community of friends and colleagues that support me, that are available to me here, and I really consider that my biggest asset. So in working to cultivate that and create some stronger communities and groups and that are holistic. I mean, there's wellness groups here. There's so many. There's really incredible volunteer opportunities. There's so many things to do here, helping people to really be clear about what their passion is and how they want to move forward and how they can remap that into this community is going to be a lot of fun.
Now, how are they going to find you?
Good question. Good question. I'm just on my website, which is just launching. I can be emailed directly. But I've also put this lifestyle survey on my website as sort of a first point of engagement for me with my clients. The URL is liferoadpanama.com, and yeah, it's pretty straightforward.
That's where it starts.
And that's where it starts. Yes.
Very good.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much. I mean, I really appreciate your presentation and your frankness today. And I wish you and your business only the very best.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you.